Businesses thrive by knowing customer insights because today's insights are tomorrow's facts. At iResearch, we live and breathe insights. And despite searching high and low, we were unable to find a customer insights podcast that answers one of the most important questions in business. Why do customers do what they do? So we launched one. Hi, I'm your host, Darshan Mehta. On this episode, I'm talking to Matt Swieca. He is an agency leader who oversees digital, social, and performance accounts for global and national brands. He is passionate about innovation, collaboration, and excellence in the digital and social space. He has a proven track record of building successful departments and teams, launching new capabilities, and driving revenue. Currently, Matt is a director of program management at the Martin Agency, a full-service agency with capabilities in advertising, strategic planning, direct response, digital, data analytics, design, and branded content for clients such as UPS, Global, AXA, Terminix, Haynes, Buffalo Wild Wings, Legal Shield, and Snapchat. Welcome, Matt. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Darshan?
Excellent. So as we get started, I always start off with, tell me the aha moments that have gotten you to where you are today.
Yeah, so it's interesting when I think back. I always wanted to be in video production. Even when I was little, I was playing with the camcorder with my siblings and things. And growing up through that, I went into video production. I decided that that's what I wanted to do. And I think the aha came when just having done that as a child and then into my adulthood, it was like, oh, I can actually make a living off of this. I can go and do something that I love, and be passionate about it, and then not only do that but reach the masses with different modes of communication. So starting from really when I was very little to now, it's always been a passion of mine is video and communication.
Well, you're, I think, at the cutting edge because now it's all about content these days and videos, right? So I'm curious. I mean, it sounds like you started into this naturally as opposed to being taught it formally, which I'm sure you did later. But let's start with the beginning when you just did it naturally, organically. What did you discover that really worked even at a young age in terms of video production and quality? And I assume probably a lot about storytelling, right?
Yeah, I think what's interesting is, I mean, when I was younger and then, throughout college and my education and things, I went to Illinois State and they had a very solid TV production program. And that's why I chose Illinois State. And from there, they taught me just all the basics about, news production and creating a story and, what a proper story needs to have. And then obviously lots and lots of classes around communication and all the things because you're reaching the masses. And so from that base knowledge, needing to be able to tell a very good articulate story that was entertaining, but also, often, moves people to action, or maybe even move them to, just have an emotion about things. I think that it was interesting how we've kind of ebbed and flowed in the way that we entertain and the way that we get that emotion, where for the longest time it needs to be super polished, and we need to make these very polished stories, really great camera angles, really great videos, and that's still true for the most part. I mean, we do still want very polished videos, but then you look at environments like TikTok and Instagram and Snapchat, and it's all just very quick, very not polished videos. And those are the ones that are going viral. Those are the ones working the best. And those are the ones getting the most traction because it's so natural. And so I think that's what's really interesting is that the time together of the super polished and the not polished, and we're kind of seeing the change in how people are reacting to content. And so for myself, that was just really interesting because when you look at the news, it's meant to be raw. And so having that base knowledge of very raw video and knowing how to create that, and then going into a more polished area, being, an ad agency. And now where we're at, where it's like, well, we need to spend less time on these videos and make sure that they actually look, we could say organic, because we want them to reach as many people as possible, but we still want to get really good stories across in those videos. And so I think that's really cool that we're able to do that on so many different platforms in so many different ways now, and just the way that we consume our content.
So I think your background is quite interesting because you did this as a passion as a young child, but then you got formally trained at one of the best schools in the country. So I'm curious, what do you think are three things that people do wrong in videos, even today? I mean, the good news is we have cameras in our pocket. The bad news is we have cameras in our pocket, right?
If I were to think of three things that people did wrong, it really depends on the medium, right? So let's take social, for example, since that's the space that I tend to sit the most in. And I think oftentimes we will overthink what we want to do, and really spend too much time on the actual video or make it too polished, because people are going to swipe past. They notice an ad like that these days. And people don't want to see ads. They want to be entertained. So I'd say that's one, is we spend too much time on it. I think the second is probably not engaging in conversations with the right groups of people. And by that, I mean, we're just blasting out messages for, potentially for our clients, rather than actually taking a moment and saying, well, who are the right people that we should be talking to in these spaces? And then I'd say the third is probably, I'd say the planning phases have changed, where rather than you're planning out the way that the video is going to look and feel and move someone, you actually need to plan out the sequence of videos that you're going to be putting out into the world, or the way that you're going to do that, or really the amount of content creators or influencers and who you're going to use to get your story and your message across.
Yeah, I agree. I think the story is always the key still, in terms of it being compelling and interesting and engaging. But I think you made me think of something. I'm actually sensing now. I think people want authenticity in the video quality, right? But I think when it comes to editing, I think people actually want professional editing, and they may not actually realize that. But I think that makes a difference. It's really kind of the balance. But I think, correct me what you think, but to me, it seems like 60-40 authenticity, but that other 40 really has to be proper professional editing.
I think it depends. I think as it comes to when you look at, the generation coming up, Generation Z, and the way that they are viewing content and what is resonating the most with them, it's authentic in the effect that it feels like it came from someone of their community. I do think that the professional, or the quality, can come in multiple ways, more so than just the type of camera that you used or the different cuts that you use. Now, it is true that, I mean, a lot of our content creators are very solid editors as well. I mean, they're able to sit down and they can edit a video in Premiere Pro or what have you, or they can do it in TikTok. But it still takes time. It still takes craft. And so I think it's just maybe the look that's different. But then when you kind of scale, I mean, we still look at, our paid media videos and things. We want those to have a little bit more precision than our organic videos, because if you're going to put something out across, connected TV or what have you, or TV spots, of course, it needs to have really good craft and quality there, because in that space, it doesn't look right to have, a TikTok style video. But I think on TikTok, I mean, how quickly do you scroll past? If it looks like an ad or smells like an ad, you're like, okay, well, next. Unless it were to capture you, very quickly. I mean, you have really less than 3 seconds to actually capture the viewer. And so I think it just depends on what you're putting out there. And also probably depends on the brands that you are, the most loyal to. I mean, I will say for myself, I mean, I ride, the Peloton quite a bit. And if Peloton's posting things, I will watch their ads, just because I'm like, oh, okay, that, that I'm interested in that product. So I think it just depends too.
Of course. So I'm curious, you do a lot in the social space, but obviously you've been background in advertising. Are you still finding that a lot of clients haven't completely made the shift to understand how social is different than just advertising?
Yes. So our clients, I think, as the Martin Agency, we do a really good job of really partnering, and that's kind of the whole model. I mean, we want our clients to be good partners with us, and that means that we need to bring them along for the ride when we're talking to them about these different capabilities and what's next and what's coming. And so we do tell them like this is what we feel that you should be doing, and we have very experts on staff who speak social incredibly well, and we'll bring them in the room when a client needs to hear that they need to be doing X, Y, and Z for their campaign. I will say most of our clients at this point, I think, understand the need for social. And I mean, it's been a need for years and years. I mean, I've been in this for over 10 years, and we've needed social ever since then. It's just changed and the amount that you need, really. But I do think that there's been a lot of partnering in terms of like, hey, this is really how we should be working in terms of the mix that we need when we're launching a campaign, and what's going to actually get you that earned media that you desire. And then, also get you to your KPIs. I mean, we need to, build not only a brand, but also make sure that it's, feeling relevant, make sure that we're reaching the right people, and then make sure that we're impacting sales, which is something we do a lot at Martin and do it rather well. And so I think it's from that partnership that we are really able to focus in and say like, hey, we really feel that you need this. Do you trust us in that? And this is how we think that you need to go.
Yeah, I mean, I think traditionally advertising has been more about broadcasting one-way communication, right? But now it's a matter of not only communication, but it's engagement, and on top of that, performance. You can actually gauge, to a fine degree, what the performance is based on the engagement you're doing. So it's quite different. But I think a lot of people have still brought up in a generation where that wasn't what they had access to. They weren't familiar with it. But that, to me, is the real power of social, is the engagement and then the performance that it can deliver.
I think that that's also the really cool part, is that you're able to track everything, but at the same time, it can be a bit, of the detriment to the creative. As a creative agency, we're all about creative. And there are a lot of times when our creative idea actually won out based on even like the testing that we might have done, that said it wasn't going to, because there's still the human element of saying, no, I know that this is going to perform well for my client or for my brand. And so while you can't always, lead on your gut feeling on these things, as an agency, I mean, we often are able to push into the creative and say, well, creative is going to be the thing that wins out. And when, then you have the tug and pull of, media dollars saying, well, we want to put the money behind this because we think that, based on the data, it's going to make more sense, put more money here. And, there's oftentimes a bit of back and forth there where we're like, okay, but we want to actually pull some of that media money and put it into this earned activation, to really, round out the campaign.
So tell me about some of the aha moments you've had now as a professional and in social. Any key aha moments you've had in, let's say, the last year or two?
I would say probably about 2 years ago, it was a bit of a turning point in just the way that we were selling the different types of content. And by that, I mean, I used to run the digital team here at the agency, and we were doing tons and tons of display, among other things like landing pages and things like that. And we had this sweet technology that allowed you to essentially create DCO style banners, but not tag on the DCO style cost, and we could then run them against just a standard media buy. Well, that was obviously very attractive to our clients because they were saving money by being able to generate that many display ads. Well, when you're on your favorite news site or whatever, how often do you actually stop and look at a display banner ad? It's often the peripheral. You're not actually paying too much attention to it. And maybe unless it's something from Amazon that you've already been looking at that maybe got you to buy what you were looking for, they're not as effective anymore. And so what I saw was just the decline in the amount that clients were asking for display, but then the rise that they were asking for social, paid social, and specifically influencer and content creator marketing. And so it felt like that was roughly 2 years ago that we were kind of seeing that change. And I think that some of that was forced just by the nature of TikTok really beginning to boom over the pandemic and a little bit prior. But there's only so much money to be had, and there's only so much money for the client to spend across their media channels. And if you're going to pull from somewhere, you're going to probably pull from the place that hasn't been as effective for you and put it into a place that is very effective. And social has proven out to be incredibly effective in regards to sales. I mean, the whole, I bought it on TikTok thing was true. And the Instagram features allowing you to quickly pop up a page to just quickly buy whatever it is that you were looking at. It's incredibly popular. Whereas the banner ad, it's not dead, and I don't think it's ever going to be dead, but it's not the fun creative that we want to be making, although needed, and we do still have them in our mix. That was a bit of a change I was noticing, is that we are kind of turning back into a heavier content realm as to the types of things that we could make and the types of things that were being requested of us, which I was excited about, given my background in video and things, because that allowed us to tell a bit more of a story.
So the Martin Agency recently received a notable recognition as being named the ad agency by Ad Age of the year in 2023. So congratulations, first of all. I'm curious, what do you think? What are you doing that's different?
What we do is different is we're all about, and I've said this, but I mean, we're all about impacting culture by impacting sales. And so when we look at what we're doing for our clients, we really focus in on the data. And so I know that obviously digital marketing is all about the data, but we focus in on, what is it that we're pulling out of that data, and who are the people there that we should actually be talking with and resonating with to really drive that buzz, because we believe that you can drive a ton of buzz through earned media. And that means that we need to be talking to the right people for our campaigns and really have the right 360 mix for our clients. And so when you take a look at Axe, one of our biggest social clients and just a really great client overall, we've done a ton of work for them in the subculture space. Obviously, as we know, Gen Z is really dialed into their phones and not as much into a TV spot, although spots aren't going anywhere. Look at Netflix. We really dove in and figured out some different ways to be communicating with them, and jumped on a lot of trends. A couple of years ago, there was a crypto-inspired Dogecoin that Elon Musk was kind of stoking the flames, Dogecoin, and Axe kind of jumped in, and we were like, okay, well, if you make it to $1 in valuation, we're going to create a custom Doge can of the Axe spray. And that just exploded for Axe because we were jumping on a conversation in crypto, which was one of the, the demographics that we knew our people would be paying attention to. And we jumped in, put a video in that conversation, and started just kind of stoking that flame. And then we actually went off and made the actual can, which just continued. I mean, it was like stoking the flame, stoking the flame, stoking the flame. And the amount of earned media and conversation, and I mean, across the medium spectrum. I mean, we had the morning show and things like that. I mean, it was all picked up across the board that Axe was doing this, and we didn't pay anything for that. And so being able to jump in and really find those moments has then allowed us to build really great opportunities for our clients. And I think that that's what's different, and that's what allows us to win these awards, because we really dive in and find those areas that make a lot of sense to be speaking to. And I think that's a little different than other agencies. That, I mean, there's a lot of very amazing agencies out there, and some of them do very similar things. We kind of take each client and we look at them and we say, okay, well, where is it that you should be playing? Who are the people you should be talking to? And okay, let's make sure that we're partnering with you. Like, earlier, where it's like, if you're not in social, we need to get you there. If you don't have an influencer strategy, we're gonna make one for you, and really work with them to make sure that they have the right elements to really make an impact for their own business, which then just naturally then starts to impact us, because then our clients will then give us the recognition for helping them build their brand.
You mentioned, I think, in several places about the shift in media spending from traditional digital social ads to influencer creator content. Explain that to me. What's really driving that, and where do you see that going?
I think that what's driving it is just the effectiveness of creator marketing and just that space. I mean, what is really fascinating though is how Meta is kind of suppressing the ability to have reach without paid dollars behind your influencers. But then that means that you pull then more from potentially some digital ad spend into your mix for the influencer marketing. So you might boost them beyond their follower reach. And so I don't think digital ad spend overall is going down. Digital is obviously going up, but that, when you look at digital, it's across all the whole spectrum of, connected TV,
Hmm.
display, search, and then social. But I do see a lot of clients spending a bit more in the social space to ensure that they're getting that reach that they desire. And I think the other interesting thing is just the precision of targeting that you can do in social, and being able to have those conversations with the people you want to be having them with. And so if I were to look to the future, obviously I can't predict the future, but I don't think social's not going anywhere. There's new social media platforms popping up left and right. And I think there's just going to continually be new ways to reach our customers across the variety of social platforms. Um, and I think that just with, tightened budgets, clients are just going to have to decide where they want to put their spend, and where it might make the most sense. And from our standpoint, it makes a lot of sense to put it in a place that we're able to then continue those conversations and spark really big earned media moments.
Have you figured out a way how to match the right influencer with the product now? I mean, that's becoming more and more of a science and very key to all this, correct?
We have a robust influencer team, and they spend a lot of time just looking at the backgrounds of the different people that we might want to partner with. In terms of partnering the exact right influencer for any given campaign, is anyone exactly right? Well, not always. I mean, you might be able to find people that absolutely love, the brand that you are running a campaign for, but I don't know that there's a magic wand or anything that says like, oh, this is the person we should go with. And there's a lot of times too when we might want to pick people that are completely outside of the category. I mean, you might want to pick someone that's into fashion to actually tout. I'm making this up, but maybe it's like someone that's in fashion to tout Axe because there was a whole activation we did around Chanel, and so that all kind of might have tied together to get some people that would have been interested in Chanel, interested in Axe. That's a complete random example, and I don't know that we'd do that,
Can
but just
you
I
give an
mean,
example of where you've actually done this, where you took an influencer that's kind of out of the space, but it actually was quite effective?
I know we have done it. I mean, we often will mix a variety of influencers across the different categories that we're trying to reach. But then with a boosting, I mean, really you have to have a solid boosting strategy. And so with a boosting strategy, you can also reach those people that you are seeking to reach anyway.
So you've had a lot of successful campaigns that you've been recognized for, like Noisy Neighbors, Beaver, and Garage Sale. What are the three things you think across all of them that really led to them being successful?
It's not any shock that 84% of advertising isn't seen or noticed. I talk about that a lot. And so when you think about the fact that you only have 16% of potential advertising that is going to be seen or noticed, and then you talk about that with a creative agency, that gets a little, I mean, that can be depressing, right? Because it's like all this stuff that I'm working so hard on, it might not even be seen. And so I think when we talk about success for our advertising and for our clients, I mean, that is a big element is that we realize that we already have our work cut out for us because we need to be that 16%. And so that means that we need to impact the different categories for our clients that they're after to hit their KPIs. And so to make a successful ad, I mean, when you look at, say Geico, I mean, there's a lot of humor there. It's all to sell insurance. But we've done such a good job building that brand that you see a Geico ad and you're just expecting something funny. And I think that it's different depending on the brand. And if I were to dive into UPS a little bit, I mean, that entire brand a few years ago, we launched under the umbrella of Be Unstoppable. And it was all about how small business owner can be unstoppable in their success and their way of building their business, utilizing the UPS tools that are available for them. Well, we took that and we created temple campaigns around different diverse small businesses. So, that'd be Black owned, LGBTQ, Latin AAPI. And we actually teamed up with different artists, different small business owners who were diverse and different people to actually build an entire campaign. And then we would give grants out to the people, determined by UPS. And it had incredible success because you're actually diving into a group of people that are also typically underserved and giving them the tools necessary to actually go out and continue building their business. And so I think what's really cool there is, I mean, we had some of those campaigns win a Fusion Cube from the Art Directors Club. And so in building successful campaigns for them, and we weren't looking, the brief wasn't, hey, go out and build a successful campaign. The brief was, we need to continue to advertise our products and services across the spectrum. And we really want our more diverse small businesses to know that we're there for them and that we have a lot to offer for them. And so we went out, and that was, the idea in the campaign that we brought to life. And so what's really cool about that is just that we were able to add in our heart to that, but really take it and take a moment and say, well, what's going to make the most impact for UPS, but also for these small business owners who traditionally don't have the means as some of the mega, businesses. And so I think that's really cool when we set out to make a really successful campaign that we take a wide look at what's going to make the most sense, not what's going to win an award or what's going to be successful, but actually like what makes the most sense for our client at any given time.
That brings up an interesting point that you're talking about impact. And a lot of times, traditionally, marketing professionals want to look at tangible ROI. Is there a difference? I think there is. And can you tell me what is the difference? And what are you seeing should be where the emphasis goes these days?
Looking at a tangible ROI it's going to probably lead you into further like digital ad spend. And because you're able to see a 1-for-1 on the amount that you put in is what you get out. And so if you put more money into the machine, you're likely going to make more on the back end, potentially. However, our clients come to us because they want us to build their brand. And that does take time. And so we can hit the ROIs that they're looking for, but we have to really partner over time because your brand might need to be built. I mean, if you have a brand that's not very widely known, you can put all the money you want into digital marketing, but you're gonna hit a bit of a cap at some point because you need some awareness for people to actually trust your brand to then buy the product. And that's our job. And so I think in terms of generating impact, a lot of the brands that we have are, of course, rather large, and some of them might have come to us. They're so large that they actually don't have an awareness problem. They have a relevance problem, or they need the awareness, and they want us to help them build that on a solid foundation to then say, okay, well, this is the return on investment that we're seeking. But then we have to partner with them and say, okay, well, that return on investment could still take 6 months to a year because your brand is currently here, but we want to get you here. And that just takes time. And so when we think about, how we're going to generate an impact and generate buzz, I mean, that takes time. It typically takes quite a bit of money. And then from there, we grow the brand. And then over time, you'll see that return on investment. Coming as a creative professional, I mean, I would say creative is going to win out because creative can be remembered. And it also goes back to the storytelling, right? So a good story will be remembered, but you're not going to remember that search, term that Google threw at you, or the display ad, or what have you. While that might generate some sales for you, it's not going to build your brand in the way that a good story would.
What role or impact are you seeing from AI and all the buzz around AI these days?
I think what's really interesting about AI, there's lawsuits out, now too. I mean, the New York Times is suing ChatGPT and things like that. And so it's all kind of going to begin to come to a head, especially in a creative space, because AI is out on the internet scouring and taking bits and pieces of creative, really, to then build creative. And so I think there's a solid place for AI potentially in the realm of writing search, of writing display, of writing probably some of the more, and I mean, I might even say like less creatively led things and elements that we need in our mix. But I think you're also going to see a lot of AI potentially trying to write TV spots and things like that. But then circling back into that 84% of advertising isn't noticed or remembered. When you think about that, AI is already pulling from the things that have already been done. It's not making anything new. We are hired to make things new and fresh and relevant to our clients, and so, or to our consumer. And so I think in terms of AI, I think it's going to have a ton of possibilities. I think we're already seeing those possibilities come to life. I think it's going to drive a lot of efficiencies. Do I think it's going to drive creative? No. Do I think that it's currently taking a lot of creative and repurposing it? Yes. And I mean, as an agency, I mean, we're using bits and pieces of it for the efficiency pieces. I mean, I can tell it to, write me a timeline, getting from A to Z, but we're not using it to write any of our creative. I mean, that's what we're hired for. We're hired to write our creative and come up with the spots and the content.
So tell me, moving forward, what areas of interest are you going to be looking into, whether it be digital, social, advertising?
I think, well, both as an agency and me specifically, we're starting an entertainment department. And so my now boss, Alana Strauss, she came from Netflix, Vendor, and others, and we're actually building out entertainment as part of our offering as an agency. And I think what really excites me about that is we all just want to be entertained. And I mean, you could say that you can do that on social, you can do that with influencers. Obviously, you can do that with impactful activations and experiences. And then very clearly, you can do that with TV spots. But what we're looking to build is really full 360 campaigns that are also tied to elements in Hollywood. And so the most recent campaign that we did was actually the Gecko teamed up with the Netflix movie Leo. And, it was really cute. The Gecko was training Leo how to essentially be on camera and how to do ads and things like that. And I think those are the types of campaigns and even, bigger and beyond that we're looking to get into, because the amount of reach that you're going to have across partnerships with the Netflix and partnerships with Disney and things like that is going to be so much greater than just a spot that we put money behind. And so I'm excited about getting into that space and us building that out and really seeing what that looks like, not only from a creative standpoint, which is the most important because that's what will sell, but also just how do we financially make it viable? Because again, there's only so much money in the bucket to be had. And so we need to continually figure out how we're going to divvy that up and really get our client the best bang for their buck.
So if you could have lunch or dinner with anyone in the world of digital marketing or even ad agency world, who would you love to have lunch with and why?
Ryan Reynolds, I think, is who I'd want to have lunch with. Just from a pure, not only business standpoint, but then also, he started his own agency and it's just incredibly funny and creative. I'd love to have lunch with him and just pick his brain on just all the different areas that he's interested in and how he's used his own talents to expand. And it's just wild. I had Mint Mobile there for a little bit and I know he owned it. So it's crazy to me that one person has been just involved in so many different things, but also so wildly creative and talented.
Maybe you can tell our listeners, because they probably know the name from movies and stuff, but maybe they're not aware of what you're talking about. Give me maybe an example or two what you're talking about, what Ryan Reynolds is into.
Ryan Reynolds, he was in Deadpool, he was in The Proposal, he was in, the most recent movie with Apple TV. And but in addition to that, he started his own creative entertainment advertising agency. No, it's wild. And there are others like Reese. I know Reese Witherspoon has started her own agency and things like that. But it's really cool to be in dabbling in so many different areas. And then in addition, he owned a wireless company there for a while. It's like what celebrity does that? But Ryan Reynolds does, and he did it rather well using his own talents to advertise for it.
Yeah, he's obviously a very bright guy. So and I think it's quite interesting. He's actually bringing his style of humor to his creative work too, which is working for him, which is cool. Well, I want to thank you for joining me today. It was a pleasure talking to you, Matt, and I look forward to seeing your campaigns as they unfold moving forward. And maybe we'll come back and talk again about some of the campaigns.
Yeah, that sounds good. It was great talking to you as well, Darshan.
Thanks a lot.
Getting to AHA was brought to you by iResearch. To find out more about us, head to iResearch.com and make sure to search for Getting to AHA in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else podcasts are found. And don't forget to click follow to ensure you don't miss any future episodes. Thank you for listening.